Hey there, this is Michael with Element 451, and today I'm going to talk to you about Bolt Discovery, Element 451's new AI powered search tool and the future of how students get information from your institution. To get started, I want you to think about the immeasurable amount of questions that a student may have, whether they're a prospective or current student. Now imagine that student being first generation or international and trying to navigate the very complex higher ed world. Where do they typically go for their answers? More than likely it's your website or Google. While these contain helpful resources, they often fall short of providing an optimal experience. And let's face it, we're also dealing with Gen Z, and they don't just want that piece of information or that particular answer to their question. They want to get it immediately and without friction. And speaking of Gen Z, did you know that 60% of them refuse to use an app or website if it's too slow or difficult to navigate? That's the challenge you're faced with today. And in this video, we're going to look at how Bolt Discovery can revolutionize how you address this challenge. We will look at two different scenarios where we're looking up information as a student to see how they stack up against one another. First, we're going to look at traditional search. This would be searching on your website or a general internet search engine like Google. For this example, I'm going to use Google, but the same principles would apply if I were you to use another search tool like the one on your website. So here you'll see we're asking a very basic question, what is FAFSA? And we're given thousands of results. We decided while looking through these results that we want to look up something different now. And again, we'll be faced with a multitude of links and pages to sift through. And then when we finally find something to click on, the website will open, and now we have to dig through paragraphs of text to find the answer we're looking for. Now let's take a minute to talk about this experience and the challenges traditional search presents. The first one is that traditional search is keyword based. It's relying exclusively on those keywords that the student is putting in their query. And as a result, it can miss contextually relevant words, and there's a limited understanding of that intent. It will never be able to grasp the true meaning of that student's query. The second thing is obvious information overload, as you've experienced on your own when doing research on websites. You're presented with thousands of results, leaving you to sift through and determine that relevance on your own. The third thing is that when those results finally populate, it's only giving us a list of links to other web pages containing information matching those keywords. It's not actually giving us the answer. So at that point, our information hunt has only just begun. And now we must start clicking on links to open web pages and read through text to find the answers that we're looking for. The fourth thing is that each query is isolated. So each time you search a question, it's an isolated, independent query. For example, when we asked, what is FAFSA and when is the deadline? Those were two independent, isolated queries. And because they're independent, you're forced to navigate back and forth if you have multiple questions. There's also a limitation in that there's no way to refer back to your answers unless you were to use your browsing history, bookmarks, copying, pasting URLs, which, let's be honest, most of us, much less college students, aren't doing any of those things. And then finally, everything we just talked about explains to us that it's just time consuming, right? The searching, the digging for the right answer, visiting multiple pages just to find a singular answer. It's very time consuming. So, why is that important to know and why should you care? This is the experience students face every day when doing basic research on your institution. And it's critical you address it because of three different reasons. The first one is your website is the number one source of truth for your institution's information. You're driving traffic to your website because of this. You need that information on there to be easily accessible, organized, and accurate. 60% of visitors on your website are likely to go straight to the search bar to find what they're looking for. And then 2 out of 3 students will leave your website and never return, especially if they have a negative experience. So, considering the amount it costs you to recruit a single student, it is critical you engage them on your website and provide them the accurate information that they're looking for. So, now let's look at Bolt Discovery using the same use case. So, Bolt Discovery has prompts you can set, so we don't even have to type the question in. We simply click a prompt that passes over that message to Discovery for us. Take a look. Notice how fast and direct we receive our answer. Then notice we're provided with 4 follow up questions intelligently generated based on our question. We select one of those and we have the answer already provided, and we're provided with even more follow up questions as that context builds in this thread. We select another follow-up question and immediately get the answer to that one as well. I want you to observe that everything is remaining in this one cohesive thread and it maintains that context throughout the exploration. Also, notice how when web page sources are used, they're linked here for deeper exploration and discovery. You can also share discovery threads. So, this is perfect for students to share information with family members, guardians, counselors, to explore information deeper. As you can tell, the streamlined, intuitive experience is really what sets Bolt Discovery apart from traditional search. Now let's dive into what we just witnessed. Bolt Discovery is powered by intelligent search. It has semantic understanding. Instead of keywords that traditional search relies on, Bolt Discovery interprets the meaning, that context behind the student's query, which captures their intent and allows for more accurate and relevant results. The answers are exactly what they were looking for. It provides that concise, targeted answer instead of an overwhelming list of links. It's extracting that very specific answer without requiring them to visit multiple web pages. And so that reduces the time spent sifting through irrelevant and even sometimes inaccurate content. Bolt Discovery is context aware, and as a result, it has the power to display suggested follow up questions. So this enhances the student's exploration and discovery. A lot of times, Bolt Discovery will suggest questions that the student has not even thought of yet. Now, let's talk about how it further affects the student experience. The first thing is that it's a continuous thread, as that video demonstrated. Bolt Discovery is organized in threads, what we call threads, and it maintains the context across multiple questions, building on previous searches for more relevant results. When web pages are used, they're linked in the thread so that students can access them to explore those topics more in depth if they choose. And then you can share the threads with family members or friends to collaborate and discuss, um, to collaborate and discuss, fostering a community of discovery. You and your staff can even use Discovery to share information with students, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Bold Discovery is tailored to your institution. First, you're the curator of the knowledge. So you're in control of what information Bolt Discovery shares because it's integrated with your Element 451 knowledge base. It looks like you. It's equipped with your logo, your colors, all of that allowing it to feel more native to your institution. There are countless ways you can deploy Bolt Discovery, but the most popular is to embed it on your website because, as you've seen so far in this video, there's so much value in replacing traditional search. You can embed it on your Element 451 pages, or you can even share it through a direct URL. Underneath that search bar, you can customize starter prompts, which provides information faster and more efficiently. And speaking of prompt starters, you can add parameters to the end of your dedicated URL that allow for predefined prompts to be sent once the link is clicked. We'll also see that in just a minute. Two other powerful features that I want to share are that one, it has the ability to capture prospective student information. Bolt Discovery can trigger a request for information form to be sure that we're capturing students' key information. And so then that way they'll be added to your contacts for future nurturing. Secondly, Bolt Discovery seamlessly hands off to our conversations module to connect that student with either a human or even better, our Bolt AI assistants for uninterrupted support. So now that you have a solid understanding of Bolt Discovery functionality, let's explore two use cases that will help you start thinking about it in practice and how you could use it at your institution. Scenario one. Let's say we're building an email campaign to be sent to all students who have inquired but not yet applied to your nursing program. In that email, we're going to add a button, and that button is linked to our dedicated Bolt Discovery URL. At the end of that URL, we're adding a parameter that has a pre-configured prompt that says, "Tell me more about your nursing program." And then we send that email to that segment of students. When the students click on the button within the email, Bolt Discovery opens, and we immediately pass that question, "Tell me about your nursing program," to Bolt Discovery, and it immediately begins replying. They can then read through that answer, use any of the follow up questions that are generated, or ask a question of their own for deeper exploration. This creates a very customized, tailored experience. And upon receiving that email and clicking the button, they're provided that immediate, direct, focused answer based on their interest, nursing. And they never had to type a single word or question into the search bar. Let's take a look and see how this looks in real life. So you'll see here I have an email with the call to action button. I'm clicking that button. Bolt Discovery automatically opens up. The query is sent, and I'm provided with the answer and follow up questions. So this is really just one example of how you can create that very tailored, personalized experience based on something like an intended major. And you can add any predefined prompt to that URL, making it completely customizable depending on where you choose to deploy it. So let's look at a second scenario. Suppose it's late July and your website doesn't have great information on explaining move in at the residence hall, and the questions are starting to pile up. Your front desk is getting inundated with phone calls. We have identified a gap of information at this point, and that's the lack of move in information available to our students. What we can do is create a Q&A, a custom Q&A using Bolt Discovery. So you would open up Bolt Discovery and ask it those questions that you're being asked frequently, just as if you were a student. What you want to do here is essentially create a continuous thread of those Q&As. And because you can share threads, you can copy that URL and distribute it through however you want. It could be email, text, your website, however you wish to do that to your soon to be residents. And now I know you're asking probably, if you share that URL, I wonder what happens if a student asks a follow up question or clicks one of the follow up questions. How does that affect the thread? That's actually exactly what we want to happen. We want that engagement, that deeper exploration to occur. That's the benefit of using this tool and why we want it to be used in this case. So, to explain how it works, when you share a URL with anyone, when they interact with it by clicking either a follow up question or asking their own, a duplicate thread is created. So, the context of that original thread remains intact, but the student that interacted with it now has their own private thread, which does not affect the original. The student now has a personalized interaction and can explore deeper with the privacy to ask follow up questions or explore a completely new topic if they choose. Now, let's look at a screenshot of this Q&A example. Here we have 4 questions on this Q&A, all about the residence hall. You can see the questions and answers are nicely organized, each one concise and direct, and you can also now share this thread as is, and then whoever receives it can go off and explore and discover on their own. Bolt Discovery goes beyond answering questions. It's about empowering dreams one thread at a time. You're turning every interaction into an opportunity to showcase your institution's value, to guide and nurture every potential student. Thank you for watching and happy discovering.